Oh my God, we are back for yet another episode of hopefully your favorite physical media collection podcast, vlogcast, whatever it's called, Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am Robert Schneider, and I am joined by Matt Armstrong and the returning Brian Baldwin for celebrating his second anniversary.
Thank you.
And I got to announce that I have just got a distribution deal with OCN through AGFA to release the Brian Baldwin anniversary video.
I did not give any consent to this.
Doesn't matter. It's co-directed with the guy from a Serbian film. You don't need any consent.
Oh God. Okay.
Your wife gave it all. All right.
That's alarming. Okay.
We have a lot to discuss this week, but I want to bring up something first. Last week on the official Vinegar Syndrome page or group, I made a simple post about wanting them to release a movie called Another State of Mind. Brian has heard of it. Matt, have you ever heard of it?
Never.
The link is actually in the post, so you should go watch it. But as I was doing that, I got the post got hijacked from an idiot. Hold on, I'm pulling up his name.
Mike Ness.
No, Mike Ness would be a cool guy to party with.
I think so.
Okay, a guy named Clay Aspel, and I'm going to tell you, or Asbel, but his name should be Aspel because he is one. So I wrote, I would like someone to release this film. He wrote, I think they are more interested in catering porn to fanboy pervs than releasing a punk rock documentary.
Wow.
And
Why is he a part of this group? Yeah.
I then responded, VS barely releases any adult content, 4 to 6 a year. To which he replied, shut up, fanboy. They have a sale specifically for porn titles. And then I responded, Clay Aspel, you have a choice to buy or not buy classic erotica. Why do you feel the need to disparage those who enjoy that genre of film? On a side note, they released them on a more frequent basis back in the day, and it was a product that drew quite a bit of people to Vinegar Syndrome when they launched 10 years ago. After that, he deleted his comments.
Boo.
But since we're on, it is the Valentine's Day sale weekend. Where do you think this is coming from? That while people who proclaim to be fans of Vinegar Syndrome or any label that is popular disparage some of the releases and are all high and mighty against porn while they are watching people get killed in crazy ways, or excited about old horror anthologies and monster movies from the 40s and 50s, or direct to video. Like Vinegar Syndrome does release a lot of crap, but you don't disparage that, but you do disparage this one genre of film. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of them just have never given any of them a shot. Have never actually sat down and just watched a film and been like, oh, okay. And decide actually for their own, like, is it up their alley or is it not? I think a lot of people have like a general idea of what they're going to see, and until they watch it,
There was this guy a few years ago who ordered Sex World during the Valentine's Day sale and then created a review on YouTube of how he didn't know it was a porn movie.
Oh,
First of
wow.
all, he could have read the freaking synopsis.
Yeah.
And 2, the title should have clued you in.
Well, you can't fix stupid, can you?
It is a lot of that too. I think it's, maybe just uncomfortable to some people, I guess. And it's probably usually people who watch a ton of porn, like in private. And they don't want to they don't understand the thought of like just watching a movie with people around them, I guess. But I think a lot of it is just like there's just so many trolls now, just out to say the opposite of what anyone says on the internet.
I mean, true, but I think there is a subset of probably newer fans who came in with movies for such as Cloak and Dagger, Rad, Sidekicks.
He,
Which one?
I know this one guy who's just been ragging on Dead Heat.
Yeah, I know him too very well. You know what? I am not the only one with that opinion. Yeah, but in fact, yes, I am more anti-Piscopo than porn.
No, it does just seem like people make a huge deal out of stuff. And it's like if you don't want to watch it, then don't watch it. I mean,
Yeah, no
Yeah.
no one's forcing you to partake in the VD sale.
mhm.
Get it, VD? I mean, no one's forcing you to partake in it. And again, there are a number of us who came into the company because they were releasing it on a steady basis. And some are more upset about movies like Sidekicks, Cloak and Dagger, Dead Heat being released than the erotica stuff. I think there's a healthy mixture for all, because those VSU movies are going to bring in money and more eyes to the company. But there is still those dedicated people who are going to buy what brought them into the company in the first place.
Mm-hmm. For you guys, was it those erotic titles to start with? Is that what kind of got you?
Well, for me, because they released Oriental Hawaii, which is the first porno I ever saw when I was way too young to see a porno, and to watch it in widescreen, cleaned up. It was kind of pretty cool to have that just for the memories. And when I bought it, I realized none of the movie was filmed in Hawaii. None of it.
Now I jumped in with for horror titles, and then of course I broadened my horizon from then. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, a lot of those older adult titles, they're not really up my alley. I mean, I'll get them, a lot of them, and then I'll just, if I don't like it, I'll turn around and sell them. I'll keep the ones I like. But I'm certainly not going to discourage the company from releasing them. I mean, that's, as Robert said, I mean, that's kind of their, what do you call it? Like, that's where they started. So I think if anything, it would be a bad idea for them to stop releasing them or upgrading them or something like that. I mean, that'd be kind of like a total slap in the face to their fan base that's been with them since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're getting a lot less, and I think that's because they stopped making DVDs. If they were still had made DVDs, we would get them probably 1 or 2 a month. But it's probably a better business decision to no longer make DVDs unless you're reprinting them. And eventually all those DVDs are going to be out of print.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's talk about the sale. What do you guys think of the 4K upgrade to Massage Parlor Murders, the debut of the double exposure of Holly, the upgrade of Body Girls and Let's Get Physical, and the 2 slip covers for A Woman's Torment, and Her Name Was Lisa?
Well, I probably had the least to say, so I'll just jump in and say I don't really know anything about any of these titles. Massage Parlor Murders, I know it was one of their earliest releases, so I think it's cool that they're kind of giving that one a better treatment. I did see a lot of people giving kickback about that one as well.
So if it was just a direct upgrade of the Blu-ray, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But it has a ton of new extra features on there that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one to see if I'm gonna upgrade or not. I remember like way before I started joining you guys for these, but like whenever Robert and I and a few of the others like first started connecting, that was actually one of the first films we discussed in that group, and I haven't watched it since. So I want to revisit it. I mean, I do think it's cool that they did the upgrade for it. I just can't really remember being like completely enthralled with the film, so I'm gonna give it another watch and see how I feel.
I mean, it's a sleazy film. It's not a porno. There's a lot of nudity, a lot of terrible car chases, but you can tell they filmed this movie for like $25. And the acting is not good. But comparable, the upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray of Body Girls and Let's Get Physical, I mean, that's worth the money. I do have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Hayapatha Lee upgrades over the next couple of months. But Body Girls is a fun movie about a gym rivalry between a regular gym and an all-female gym in a bodybuilding competition or some sort of competition. And you know how the women get ahead? I kind of gave the answer away in there. But
I know I own A Woman's Torment. I don't actually think I've watched that one. And I'm gonna have to check, but I don't think I own Her Name Was Lisa either.
both of those
Or
movies,
I don't think I own that one.
both of those movies are both those movies are fantastic. And Brian, when you send me out the Silent Night movies,
Mm-hmm.
I will send you, and once I get the new ones in, I will send you Her Name Was Lisa and A Woman's Torment, because once again, I accidentally ordered the Blu-rays with the slip covers.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, thank you for that, by the way. Like I said, I know I own A Woman's Torment, but I do not have Her Name Is Lisa. At least I'm pretty sure I don't.
Yeah, Her Name Was Lisa.
Thank you.
It's probably one of the best adult titles out there.
Really? Okay.
It's a dark movie. But the one I'm really excited about is the new one, The Double Exposure of Holly. I read the synopsis and watched the trailer. This movie looks sleazy, and it looks like it has a pretty good plot as well. It's from the people who made Other Side of the Mirror, which I've never seen the porno version of it. I mean, through the Looking Glass. But there used to be the show on Trio called Good Clean Porn, and they cut out all the sex scenes and just let you see the acting of it. And Through the Looking Glass just really intrigued me. And I don't know if I ever need to see the porno version, but Jamie Gillis plays a woman's dad or the devil who would always talk to her from the other side of the mirror and make her do sexual things until she crossed the mirror.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never crossed them.
Yeah. But yeah, I just bought all the new stuff and the upgrades.
Nice.
Yeah. Stupidly bought the movies with the upgrades. The slip covers. I gotta, that's the problem staying up so late and you're on a sleeping pill. You sometimes forget to press the button that says slip cover only.
Yeah, it's not as hard as you think to purchase double things, huh?
Yeah, but I don't do that as often as you.
You just got tons of these things.
Yeah, I heard whatever partner label released it is going to send you a thank you note for making it profitable for them.
Nice.
All right, let's go to my new favorite feature, conquering your collection. Matt, we're doing this for you because you have your library is 95% unwatched. But Brian, we will start with you.
That's funny. Yeah, so I just quickly looked, and one of the first ones stuck out to me pretty hard. Now, I think this falls within the guidelines. So Arrow had released, I don't have the Scarlet Box edition. That would be cool, but the Hellraiser 1 through 3.
Yep.
And now I've watched Hellraiser, but I've had that for freaking ages, and I have never watched 2 or 3. They have just been sitting there, just sitting. And even when I came across it, I was still like, hell, I don't know, maybe watch them one day. I don't know why I'm not that excited. Like, I love Hellraiser. I just have a feeling that it's going to go downhill like very quickly, but I could be wrong.
I thought. So did you watch Hellraiser 2 and 3?
I haven't watched either.
Oh, so you
I've
didn't.
only seen the first.
So you did. So hold on. So you didn't conquer your collection this week.
Oh, I didn't know we were actually supposed to. I thought it was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
hey,
We're
here's
supposed to watch them.
No, I haven't done that.
All right.
They're still just sitting there.
All right. Next week, watch one of them.
Okay.
They're slightly more conquered.
Matt, what about you? What was your pick this week?
I picked I was trying to go through all these old Scream Factory ones I have. This one seemed interesting. The synopsis for it is: a priest, a rabbi, and a flight crew team up to save their flight from a pandemic of demonic possessions. And it is called Exorcism at 60,000 feet. And
Okay.
so, like, looking at the cover, kind of, to me, it kind of looked like, I didn't look at who was in the movie, so that would have given it away. But to me, it kind of looked like some low budget 80s kind of Exorcist ripoff kind of thing.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. It was made in 2019, and it was like pretty much like a full blown comedy. um, it like starts off exactly like The Exorcism, where this priest is called out to perform an exorcism at this house, and it starts almost like scene for scene. He starts talking to the person who's possessed, and he pulls out this big metal cross, and the demon's like, "You think that's gonna do anything to me?" And it like cuts to the priest's face, and he's like, "Lord, forgive me for what I'm about to do." And he like takes the cross like this and holds it by one of the short handles, and it's a cross gun. And just shoots him in the head. So from that part, I knew that this was going to be more of like a spoof kind of thing. And it was. The rest of it kind of just took place on a plane, on a flight going to Vietnam. And a story is revealed that the priest was in the war, and the demon that is getting passed around was in someone that he exercised while he was in the war, so it's been following him around. And when he shot the guy with his cross gun, they apparently put the body in the cargo area to take the body back to Vietnam. So it ends up just kind of like going back and forth through all these characters on the plane. It goes into like a rich lady's like service dog who is actually like a dead dog that she just keeps for memories. There's a 30-year-old kid who has Tourette's, and the priest keeps thinking that he's possessed because he just keeps cussing and like saying stuff. And it just keeps going back and forth, and it's just like, I was not expecting it, but it was pretty enjoyable.
Who's in it?
It has popular names such as Lance Henriksen.
Ooh, he's good.
The end. It also has the priest is Robert Miano. I don't know if he's anyone special.
No.
One of the flight attendants was Bai Ling.
Who? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that would have given it away if I would have looked at that. Adrienne Barbeau sounds like a familiar name.
She was in Escape from New York and Swamp Thing, among other movies.
Okay. So yeah, her character was like terrible. But yeah, it's got like people in it that you recognize playing like weird characters. Like I don't know who was playing the rabbi, but he looked very familiar. Yeah, just super weird movie, not what I was expecting. And I don't know if I can recommend it.
You should go check out a film called Flight 666.
I've seen that one.
Have you really?
Yeah.
It's fucking terrible. in all the good ways. Yeah, you should watch that.
So compared to the movie you talked about last week, is it better or worse?
Oh, worse for sure. Last week I think is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. So last week, Brian and I talked about the horror film American Mary.
I don't think I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah. When last week's episode posts, go watch it because it's a really, really good film.
Okay.
And I was hoping to find yet another really good film. But as I was searching through my collection and I was putting some movies on the shelf, I noticed one still wrapped up. I'll read the synopsis. A sailor takes an American businessman and his girlfriend to an island where the businessman wants to build a resort. Soon, a weird voodoo couple show up and warn them of bad things that are going to happen. It doesn't take long for the zombies to show up and start chowing down on human flesh. This is the 1980 Joe D'Amato directed film, Erotic Nights of the Living Dead. So it's leaving, the synopsis is leaving out a lot that this movie is basically a porno, minus the money shot. And we get to see this actor, Mark Shannon, who's the one who's a lot of the fucking. We get to see his warty balls.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
It is for him, the girls he was fucking, and the audience who had a look at them. Oh man, this came out from Code Red. I don't remember buying it, and I probably didn't watch it because of how much I hated Code Red. There are at least some special features on here, but I also believe this is part of the Black Emmanuel series because Laura Gessmer's in it, and the title card basically had the word Emmanuel, and that was the only thing I could read in Italian. But the movie starts out with someone having sex and someone watching them. Then we go to the boat. Then we meet the businessman who strikes a deal, and someone's very happy to get rid of the island for him. And then he goes has sex with two hookers, and then he invites them to go along to the island, and they leave without getting paid. And then he meets his neighbor, who's not his girlfriend, but was a kept woman from a chic and left him. So she decided to accompany him to the island. We then meet the boat captain, and Mark's played by George Eastman, who's in a lot of D'Amato films. And they go to the island. Mark Shannon warns him to not get involved with his lady because he paid for her to be there. And he's like, I understand. I'm just here to sail the boat. Then they get to the island. They meet Laura Gessmer's character, who is also named Luna, and an old man. And then they go on the island, and there are zombie attacks. A few. You really don't see them until the end. A lot of sex on the island. A lot of warning to get off the island. And then it ends with them defeating the zombies and George Eastman's character having sex with the businessman's girlfriend, in quotations. And then it flashes to them in the mental hospital where that person is watching. It's come full circle. And it makes you wonder if this movie really happened or was just in the mind of the dude while he was having sex. I wasted 111 minutes of my time watching this movie. Here is my 1-star review from Letterboxd. This movie was nowhere close to being erotic, and I'm pretty sure my mom and George Romero would disapprove of me watching it.
So I would have thought that like I feel like I would have thought that it would have been like some guy having sex and like turning people into zombies. It's just like
See, that's a better movie right there.
it's just some guy going and there just happens to be zombies there.
Yeah, the island's cursed for some reason or another.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, Laura Gessmer is beautiful. I mean, the women in this movie are beautiful, except I can't get warty balls out of my mind now. And Brian, we should form a punk rock band named Warty Balls.
I'm down.
Or Mark Shannon's Warty Balls.
Could it be Wardy and his balls? I could be Wardy. He could be one of my balls.
I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the grammar later. I mean, this was just a terrible movie.
But are you glad that you finally watched it?
Well, I am, but I also didn't know that I had it.
So will you sell it, or will you just let it sit there and remind?
It's out of print, so I'll probably wait until the Black Emmanuel set is announced from Severin later this year to see if it's on there, because I know Severin will do a much better job. I mean, the print looked okay, but like most Code Red releases in the last 10 years, special features have just become non-existent for them. I'm sure a label like MVD or Kino would have done something better, or Vinegar Syndrome or Severin.
Basically, just any other label.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah, basically any other label. Yeah. But no, I'm like, I want to find an unwatched film as good as American Mary. And I think I peaked with my first film.
Well, sorry, I didn't fully understand, and I guess I should have realized with the title of Conquering that I was supposed to watch.
We'll let it go for this week, but your assignment is Hellraiser 2 for next week.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, let's talk about our feature of the week. You know, you could really add a sound effect too after I say that feature of the week, like some sound snipe of do 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 or something.
Okay, that's different. Okay.
I was thinking more like womp womp womp.
No. All right.
Really test my editing skills, but I'm good here.
So we decided to watch a movie from Televised Terror, The Calendar Girl Murders, which stars Tom Skerritt as Detective Stoner, a young Sharon Stone as was her name Catherine? I can't remember what her name was.
Cassie.
Or was it?
As Cassie Bascom. Barbara Bosson, who I think was on Hill Street Blues, as Nancy Stoner. Robert Beltran from Star Trek Voyager as Mooney the detective. Pat Corley, who has been pretty much everything in his career, as the sheriff, or the sheriff, basically, or the chief. Alan Thicke as the sleazy photographer, and Robert Morse, who is on Mad Men and has been a character actor most of his life, as the drunken lounge singer, Nat Curry. Let me read the synopsis of this film. Millionaire Richard Traynor is celebrating the fact that his new calendar featuring 12 nude women is a huge success. However, the party is ruined when Miss January is pushed off a building, and later on that night, Miss February is knifed to death. Policeman Lieutenant Dan Stoner is assigned to this case, and he immediately strikes a friendship with photographer. No, she's not a photographer. With model Cassie Bascom. While Dan investigates the case Cassie's attacked, what connection is she to the case, and will the killer be caught before she reaches Miss December? I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off by saying I think this ABC movie of the week was a pilot for a stoner series, because it seemed to do a lot of setup that he has a family, and he was already getting put on a next case, and I think they wanted people to demand to see more Stoner. But also, Tom Skerritt looked like he would rather be anywhere else than this movie.
Yeah, he seemed not very involved in it, I guess, mentally.
I don't know, man. I thought he came across as pretty cool.
I think he came across as his name, Stoner.
Yeah.
which is a great name for like an early 80s detective show. This week, Stoner is on the case. But it was weird watching this again for a second time, is that it was quite provocative. No, that's what I'm looking for. It was quite sleazy for a TV movie of the week.
Yeah, I can see that. I
It's
actually forgot that I was watching a made for TV movie until the first, well, I guess the second kill happened. I was like, oh wow, they didn't bother with any kind of blood, and I was like, oh, it's made for TV. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you could tell that because there was no nudity in it at the gala or the practice session, not the practice, at the party. That was for some reason being filmed for live television. I gotta say, in the rehearsal at the beginning, I loved Robert Morse's character drunkenly trying to sing the song Calendar Girls.
Well, I love my cow. Okay, I'll get it right later.
and the best thing was how he was holding a glass of booze.
Yeah.
I just love that scene. But I also love the televised thing that, first of all, we see on Stoner's television as his son flips to that channel in the kitchen watching it, and his mom calls it like adult trash. Again, no nudity. It looked almost on par with an episode of the TV show Solid Gold with the Solid Gold dancers. Nothing erotic about it. Then we go to my least favorite sequence. Well, hold on. I got to say also during the rehearsal, Robert Culp, who's perfect as a Hugh Hefner stand-in, was like, we got to get police protection. And then we meet Robert Beltran's character bringing an issue of that magazine into the police department and thinks it's sexist that they're sending a woman detective to protect them. While he is the most sexist character in the movie.
I thought it was funny when the kid was watching that on TV, and they did the I think it probably ended in the early 90s, but the whole thing where like the dad walks in, he's like, is that cable? And it's like cable was the the trashy TV back then. It was like the local channels that were like the safe to watch stuff.
He would know if it's cable. He probably pays the bills.
Yeah.
Then we get to the show, and the former host of what I consider one of the worst TV shows of all time, but it's still so bad it's good, the $1.98 beauty pageant. Rip Taylor is there, making a lot of dumb jokes that would not get past today. And the model finally just getting frustrated that she doesn't want people to think that they're hookers. I'm like, you know who would say that? A hooker. And which leads to the first kill, her going upstairs. I'm guessing she's pretty coked out because she leaves her shoe at the door to prop it open, basically letting the killer in.
Well, I was gonna ask if she did that on purpose, because I thought it was weird that they cut away from the scene saying we're not all hookers, and then it just cuts right to that, and I was like, so she's just going back to her hotel room, and is she like propping the door for like a guy to come in?
I mean, back then you could have just kept the door unlocked.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it was just like, I don't know, poor writing that made it look like she purposefully like set it down there.
No, I think she just kicked her. No, that can't be, because she carried one shoe to the bed and put it on there, which I think is pretty unsanitary. But then she gets pushed off the balcony and lands on the production truck, thus ruining the show, and Stoner is called in. And everyone thinks it's a suicide, but because Stoner is attuned to the crime scene, he thought it was a murder. And then the next night, Miss February got murdered in her home as she went to get her husband or boyfriend a Coors, because Coors probably sponsored this movie, and she was killed. But what I like about the police work is they immediately wrote off the husband as a suspect because he was in the other room. But I actually like it. I thought that scene was good because it did show it showed a different side of the Calendar Girls, or let's just call them centerfolds, of how they were making fun of the biography that was written there, because seems like none of it was true. And when her husband or boyfriend asks who wrote this, just some guy. I'm like, this is great. I'm a big fan of Claudia Christensen because she was on one of my favorite sci-fi shows, Babylon 5. And
She looked super familiar, and I was trying to figure out what I would remember her from. It definitely wasn't that, but I could not think of where I've seen her from.
I don't know. The only thing I know her from is Babylon 5 in this movie. Those are the only two things I've ever seen her in. Unless you do your research and find something out. We then get introduced to Sharon Stone's character. Or do we get introduced to Alan Thicke's character first? I don't remember. No, we have Stoner go to the shoot.
Yeah.
He's told about Cassie, and then Alan Thicke gives us the ominous words, "Don't fall in love with her." He meets her and she starts flirting. And I'm gonna spoil it right here. That's when I figured out she was the killer. She was
it's
just
pretty easy to tell.
She was just overdoing it. But she's a stockbroker. She has a Porsche, and she's also the magazine publisher's illegitimate daughter. And for as bad as the script writing was, this movie was pretty good. I mean, they did some foreshadowing pretty good. Like, we learned his wife early on was a photographer when they were walking some of the developing equipment into the other room. I like the fact that they did not just blurt it out that she was, that we kind of figured out along the way. I thought it was just some lazy writing that the police would just go to her and then tell Sharon Stone's character that his wife was developing the pictures.
I was like, well, at what police station would they do this?
1980s LA.
One of the scenes that drove me crazy was actually right at the end of the film. So after we find out that it is Cassie, and Stoner goes back to his house, to check on his wife and everything, and Cassie's there, she's pouring whatever, I don't think it was gasoline, but some kind of flammable liquid, underneath the door while she's doing the stuff with the photos in that room. Anyway, when Stoner comes in, he's like, it's over, Cassie, and she's holding the lighter, right? And she, instead of just dropping it and setting the wife on fire, which would have been pretty cool. Anyway, the part that drives me crazy is, like, she sets the curtain on fire, Stoner busts it out the window, and then she starts crying, and he gives all his attention to her, instead of his wife, who almost died. Like, he might as well have just given her a pat on the back, like, it's okay, honey.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it makes you think, because throughout the entire movie there's so many things where you can tell that even though Stoner is being a good husband and never making advances, like, you can see that he wants to. And then this huge climax, and he's still all about her, and it's just, I just felt sorry for the wife. I was like, what the fuck?
I also thought during that last scene when she was holding the lighters, Stoner could have just went.
Well, so Brian, I think he did that for a reason, to calm her down, to make sure she didn't go crazy when she was arrested.
Well, I mean, I guess sure, but there were other people there that could have done
Yeah,
that.
but she had a connection to him, even though it was a forced connection. She still, I mean, she was manipulating him throughout the entire movie, but there was still something about him that calmed her down.
Mhm.
And I think in her way, getting rid of the wife would have made Stoner hers.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
what's
I can see that.
well, what's interesting about it is, all right, we got to go through the old going back to the old photographer first, who kept the yearbook and knew who she really was. Again, good foreshadowing is when someone just a throwaway line, you know, people come here and change their names to become stars. And then when he looked through the yearbook, he discovered that Cassie had wasn't her real name, and which basically, you know, solved the crime right there. But couldn't that be said for all the calendar girls, that they just changed their names?
True.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a very is it like did he like suspect her from the start for that to be the first person whose name would come up, or
No, I don't think he did. I mean, another good thing is they did put a lot of red herrings in the movie of who the killer could be. Like the most obvious one was Robert Morse's MC character, and they did arrest him. They put him in jail because he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, Other suspects could have been the publisher's assistant, who basically looked like she hated everybody. Um, the best friend that was being guarded by the female cop, she was a suspect. And then we met her dad when he was just, "You're all whores. Each and every one of you are a whore." He could have been a suspect. They put all these red herrings of who it could have been.
yeah.
And
Oh, go ahead.
again, I thought for what it was a good movie. It watching a made for TV movie is different because it can't go as far as its theatrical counterpart, or at least it couldn't back then. Did you guys get Giallo vibes off of this one?
I didn't really think about it honestly until you mentioned it. Um,
Killer in
I
Black
could see that.
Gloves.
Yeah. Could be, yeah.
How did you feel about the acting overall?
I thought overall it was pretty good. Um there was one thing that made me laugh when um they were at the whatever that was, the like calendar girl Olympics or
The
whatever.
villa.
Was that what it was called?
Yeah, the
They
villa.
were
Yeah.
doing the like obstacle course and stuff.
Oh yeah, for the races or the games.
Yeah. When they were there and um Cassie said that she was like taking the spot of Gail, and then Stoner got all jealous and was like, "Ooh, you gonna just spread yourself open for the main guy?" And she was like, "It wasn't for him," and just had this like this this slap that like was in slow motion. It made no noise, and I was like, "Oh man, they could have done that a little better." But um, yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the acting was pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you know?
I
I think. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're okay. I was just going to mention one thing with that scene, which I mean, it makes sense, especially with what you were just saying, Robert. You know, there are limitations, you know, with made for television films and stuff. But uh, speaking of trying harder, I don't know when the driver of the brown van, you know, he's been creeping around and stuff, and he's driving like basically to mow over people. He didn't even try. They're all over the place. He could have hit a few of them for sure. But I was just like, no, he just Took a shortcut basically to the road, scared a couple of people.
I think he just wanted to get away. But also, he was
Mhm.
another red herring right there who I immediately crossed off because he was way too obvious.
I thought it
Yeah.
was weird during that part that kind of gave Sharon Stone away again is he like starts coming down and everyone like starts running one way and it's like only her that they show like 100-meter dashing across the field in the opposite direction. I was like, oh, it seems like she knows that they're coming right for her.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, he discovered her. He wanted to be her. He said he was her manager and wanted to get his money, or else he would blackmail her, which was the impetus for this whole film. I thought the most powerful scene in the movie was when Stoner went to the magazine's headquarters and they were taking down the picture of the first victim and replacing it with the woman who had ended up being the second victim. I thought that was a powerful scene because it showed how disposable these women were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that basically what happened to them didn't matter as long as they were making money for the magazine. And I don't know if that was they intentionally did that, but that just struck me as a really powerful scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was probably intentional. I mean, I think that's a big, I don't know, a big thing about that industry is that just once you can't make it money anymore, you're kind of just out.
Yeah, I mean that's the perfect metaphor for for Hollywood in itself. One day you're on top, and the next day you're making made for TV movies.
Yeah.
Basically, this movie was the analogy for Tom Skerritt's career. There he was making such great films like MASH and Alien, and then the next year he is making stuff like The Calendar Girl Murders.
Yeah, he said at the end, they're always looking for a prettier, younger face.
Yep. How did you think of the directing on it?
I mean, I think it was pretty vanilla, kind of just I don't know, nothing like out of the ordinary, kind of no risk taking, kind of just straight by the book kind of stuff, I guess.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I'm going to tell you this director, William Graham, has directed some good movies and a lot of good made for TV movies. He is best known for the 1969 Elvis vehicle Change of Habit, which was Elvis's Presley's last theatrical film, probably I think his last movie ever. And then the most unneeded sequel of all time, Return of the Blue Lagoon. But for TV movies, he directed quite a few that he also directed Honky, which was rated R, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking at his movies now, and I notice I have that one on my watch list.
And Cry for Me, Billy. But for TV movies, some of the good ones that I've seen, he directed Get Christy Love, which was a blaxploitation film for TV, and I think the pilot for a series. Beyond the Bermuda Triangle, which I hope somebody releases because I remember seeing that one pretty good. The Guyana tragedy, the story of Jim Jones. I remember sitting in my buddy Punk Rock Dave's apartment in the late 90s, watching that and Heavy Metal Parking Lot on the same night. We were drunk. And he also directed the biography or the movie about the founding of MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, The Last Ninja, the TV movie about Brian Baldwin's Secrets of a Married Man, Mussolini, The Untold Story.
That sounds
He spent most of his career on TV. Oh, he also did a TV biography on Elvis called Elvis and the Colonel, The Untold Story. And then Death of a Cheerleader, starring the younger sister of Corky from Life Goes On.
Hmm.
And Tori Spelling. And the dad from the Fresh Prince. So,
Ooh.
would you think this movie is a career high or a career low for him?
Um, I, I mean, I've never seen any of these, but I guess it's towards the top.
I'm going to bring this up now. Do you think the made-for-television film is going to be the next wave of Blu-ray and 4K releases once we get through the Hong Kong action wave?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I wouldn't either.
I
Brian?
would love a good release of that 1977 Spider-Man because that thing was good,
No, it wasn't.
real good.
That movie was terrible.
It was better than Far From Home.
No, it wasn't. Though it would have been nice if Nicholas Hahn, I believe, played Spider-Man. It would have been nice if he was in there for a brief cameo.
Yeah.
Like I watched all those
Oh, go ahead.
I watched all those on VHS. They didn't have supervillains in those shows.
The government.
If you want to see a fucked up Spider-Man show, watch the Japanese Spider-Man. He is a robot.
The Spider-Man is a robot.
No, Spider-Man has a robot a la Power Rangers.
Ooh, okay.
You can find those on YouTube. All right, Brown, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say I enjoyed the entire televised terror set. I thought it was, I don't know. There's just something fun about watching some of those, and I mean Matt kind of worded it perfectly, which almost sounds like I would. It almost sounds like a negative, but it is. It's just very vanilla, and just very. I don't know. It's just easy to watch, and there's something that's charming about it, and I think it's just different enough from what especially like I keep in rotation of slashers and gore and all this other good stuff. It's kind of nice just to dial it back a little bit and just watch something that simple and just that casual.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
I mean, I agree with you. I enjoyed the 3 movies in this one. Then I enjoyed the 3 movies in Fun City's Primetime Panic.
I haven't watched any of those yet. I need to.
The graffiti artist one is really good. And then when the one with Jennifer Jason Leigh, where she goes to Osaka and she's basically forced into prostitution, is also pretty good. But there are 2 cuts of that. There's the cut for TV and then the international cut, which has boobs. Okay. All right. So here's the important question. How many dead calendar girls would you give this one, Brian?
I think 3 is a solid score for this one.
Yeah.
It's nothing I'm gonna pop on all the time or anything like that. I just think there's nothing else I can really say about it. I mean, it's just it's an enjoyable, easy watch. I do think there was a lot of they did a good job at guessing for the most part. Like I said, I think it's kind of easy to pick up on who the killer is, but they dangle enough suspects in front of you that you're like, well, it could be, it could be someone else. So I think the guessing game aspect to it was well done.
No, and I mean the scene that really convinced it for me was when her place got broken into, and someone wrote "slut" on the window, which made me think that might have been the first time "slut" was said on primetime television.
That might be interesting. Yeah.
Matt, how many dead calendar girls would you give this one?
I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna go 3. It was a real like. I listened to this podcast about movies, and they always use this term for stuff, but I felt like it was a real cozy movie. Kind of just reminded me of like, being a kid on the couch on Saturday or Sunday morning. My dad would be watching something that I didn't want to watch, and this seemed like it would fall in that category. Back then, at least.
The one thing I'll agree with you on, and I'll kind of expand, is this movie was pretty well paced because it had to, because you had to figure out the commercial breaks in there.
Mm-hmm.
And for this one, it wasn't obvious because everything kind of flowed seamlessly. But I think if I was able to in 1980 watch this, I would have watched it.
Yeah. There was a part when they were filming that last like setup at the end in the parking garage, and the one girl like picked up the axe and it just went into slow motion for like a minute and a half. My wife was at that part. She was like, "What is going on right now?" They might have needed to just make it like an extra minute longer, so they just drew this scene out.
But they did it. They did a few slow motion parts in this movie.
Oh, I didn't notice any of them.
I think they do that to make it modern.
Yeah.
All right. I will go a little bit higher. I will give this movie 3.5 dead calendar girls.
Which
All right.
one?
Who do you think was the best actor in this film?
Oh.
I know you guys disagree with me, but I love the hell out of Tom Skerritt. I don't know. There's just something about that he did with that character that I liked. Like when he was on screen, I was mostly like, "That's a cool guy," you know. He's just.
I can only imagine if this was picked up as a series, and I know on another Earth in the Multiverse, Stoner had a good 10-year run, but it would have had one of the best theme songs ever to describe Stoner. And I wish I could just peer into that alternate Earth just to hear it one time. Get on my Spotify and download it and bring it back to our world.
I mean, I think I would probably say the same. And I think the reason that I feel like he kind of just wasn't into it, I think it was just how he was portraying the character, because it's, it starts off with him. I don't know if he's like disgruntled or what, or if he's wanting to retire, but
Well, he wanted to transfer.
Okay, that's what it was. So yeah, he gets sent out to the first murder where the girl was on the top of the production trailer or whatever, and he just has this attitude the whole time. He's just like laughing about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on the case," and I'm just like, I was like, "You son of a bitch." So it's just, I don't know. I think he was good throughout the movie. I think it was one thing I was gonna ask you guys is I thought it was questionable that Sharon Stone's character was super into him, and I was gonna ask if you guys thought that was all just like a.
It was all an act.
Okay.
Well,
Because
I don't know, because I mean, you find out that she basically has these like crazy daddy issues. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of I think I think you could see it from either side. I think there's a part of me that like thinks that she, because there's that line. What is it? She says to Stoner when they're on like her balcony, and she's like, it never was real, was it, or something like that. And he's like, what? And she's like, us. And he's like, no.
I think she was. I think she was. I think she was still trying to manipulate him because she came on to him pretty quickly. And if you let's go back to Alan Thicke's warning, never fall in love with her, because she knew how manipulative she was. I bet you she sized him up the moment she saw him. He's married, been married for a long time. He probably has a wandering eye, but hasn't acted on it. He's probably
What's going on with you and your cat right now?
What?
What's going on with you and your cat right now?
My cat wants to get fed.
Daddy, please, Daddy.
Yeah,
Are you done talking about the movies, Daddy?
Yeah, he does this every day at 2:00. So, but no, I think she was manipulating him. And again, the whole scene where her apartment was ransacked, that was her way of saying, "Look how vulnerable I am."
Yeah.
But so, Matt, who do you think are the best actors in this movie?
I mean, I would go him, and I would go, probably Sharon Stone. I've always thought she was pretty good. I think it's like kind of sad that she's just kind of disappeared. She was in almost like everything when I was growing up.
But it's also weird that this role basically served as the prototype for her character in Basic Instinct.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking about it while I was watching it. I was like, if I had not seen Basic Instinct before, would I think that it was her? Because the whole time I was like, this is just like Basic Instinct.
Yeah, I think Sharon Stone is one of the best actors in it, but I think there were two that were equally as good. And I think they stole the scenes that they were in. The actor who played the Hispanic cop, he was there for laughter and stupidity. But I like the scene where they were staking out the photographer, and he's eating something called pizza nuggets and trying to convince Stoner to try one. I thought that was a great scene. And I thought Robert Morse was great throughout the whole movie. Just, again, he stole every scene he was in. You can't help but love Sharon Stone's character because even though you knew she was the killer, you didn't want to believe she was.
Yeah.
Because like every male character in this film, you were supposed to fall in love with her.
You know who else kept stealing the show?
Who?
Was Stone's gigantic fucking band-aid on his head. I could not take him seriously at any moment after that.
Hey. Hey. That's how Stoner rolls. All right. Before we go, you guys watch anything else good this week?
Anything for you, Brian?
Trying to think of what all I've watched. I know I've watched some stuff. I have seen movies. Apparently, they just went in and out though. Good Lord, I literally can't think of what I've watched. Go ahead, I'll think of something.
Good. I was just gonna say, since it got put on streaming this, like a week or two ago, I rewatched Black Panther, 2, the sequel, and it was just, I got to stop these MCU rants, but it was just such a bad movie. It was much worse than I remember it being.
I started watching it, I think, before we recorded. I saw the last 45 minutes to go. I
Mhm.
actually really enjoyed it so far.
The first time I watched it, I was like, man, this is good. They're like turning things around, and man, just watching it again. The like beginning and end are really good, and then it just has like 3 hours of just low budget CGI. What am I even watching right now? In the middle, it's just, I don't know. But Ant-Man comes out next weekend. It's the first movie of Phase 5, so I hope it's
I'm gonna go see it because I have the next week off from work.
nice.
Ooh, lucky.
All right. So
yeah, I just remembered I was watching some random stuff on Shudder. So I watched one called The Lair. These are newer films, by the way. The Lair, it was, both of these movies actually were quite mediocre. The Lair basically is a pilot for the military is shot down in Afghanistan, and she's trying to keep herself alive, from the military there. And she stumbles across this Russian bunker thing that holds these, let's just say, like reanimated bodies that kind of like turn into these creatures. It was actually pretty good for about like halfway through the movie. Then all of a sudden it got like super oorah and simplify and just like fucking weird. And then I watched one called The Pool. This is one of my killer animal movies. It was a Thai film. It was actually pretty good, aside from the fact that the alligator, basically what it is this guy's working on a film, and he has to clean up this pool after everyone has left, after last day of shooting. And he falls asleep in the pool, and it drains, and he wakes up, and it's just him and this alligator in this empty swimming pool, and he can't get out. Anyway, yeah, the alligator looked about as dumpy as it gets. It was like really bad CGI, but it was kind of fun. It was a fun movie.
So I rewatched one yesterday based on reading someone's review of it that made me take a look at the movie in a different way. It was one of the Picorama releases on DVD from Vinegar Syndrome. It was Robin's Nest and Bella, and I rewatched Bella, and I'm going to read my review of it, and then we'll figure out what we're going to watch next week. So, my review of it: if this were a French film minus the pornography, it would be considered a classic. I decided to rewatch this movie due to Mr. L. Beard's review and make me look at it from a different POV. On first view, this film appears to be the typical adult fare. The story is of Bella, played by Tracy Adams, not the Tracy Adams, but the other Tracy Adams, a young woman going through a sexual awakening who spies on her mother, Diana Sloan, having sex with Tom, their handsome neighbor, played by Eric Edwards. From there, Bella seduces Tom, starts hating her mother, and in the end has a threesome with Tom and her mother. Mr. L. Beard brought to light that this story is actually about Bella's desire for her mom instead of Tom. Instead, Tom is standing in her way of having the type of relationship with her mother that she desperately wants. As L. Beard pointed out in his review, that when she watches Tom and her mom, her eyes are focused more on her mom than the man she's having sex with. Then there's also the scene of her pleasuring herself while listening to her parents have sex. When we catch a glimpse of them making love, it appeared to be simply perfunctory. We see a couple going through the motions, while her father, played by Jake Teague, is at home. He's never really there. For him, home is a temporary stopgap between business trips. He's obviously a man who'd rather be anywhere but there. His seemingly constant absences have driven his wife into the arms of another man, and his daughter to form an unnatural attraction to her mother. While her parents are in the midst of coitus, she sneaks over to Tom and seduces him. From that point, she becomes the alpha in the relationship, making him choose between her mother or her. Bella then started spiraling out of control. Her desire to keep Tom away from her mother reaches a new low when she handcuffs Tom to a chair and points a gun at him and forces her friend forcing her to blow him before having sex before blow him, before having sex with her. Before having Tom watch, I wrote this way too late last night. Forcing Tom to watch her and her friend have sex, while begging to be free so he could join them. However, her mom was downstairs and heard everything. After getting lectured by her mom, ordering her to stay away from Tom, the film concludes with a threesome. The film concludes with Bella joining her mother and Tom in a threesome, and the film ends with them kissing. In so many ways, this movie is messed up, but all the actors are in top form. While the movie is overly dramatic, it is way better than films in the same type of genre, Taboo 1 through 5, Taboo American Style, among others. It's also the only adult film where someone pleasures themselves while pictures of Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are staring at Tracy Adams while she did her thing. And
You liked it.
I did. I mean, looking at it from a different point of view made me notice the things the director was trying to not outwardly say, but he did it in such a good way, subtle. And this was the only movie he's ever made. I don't know if he was a Hollywood director that was making this for the cheap, but he was actually a New York director making this for the cheap, but he was trying to make something good. And as we were talking earlier, that some of these adult films are not like the porn of today. They actually have a story, but in this one, the sex helps tell the story and it doesn't break away from it.
Nice.
So hopefully this one gets a Blu-ray upgrade at some point based on this review. All right, what shall we not watch next week? Brian, it is your choice.
Ooh. I don't like being the one to choose.
All right, Matt, it is your choice.
I mean, do we want to stick with something older, or do we want to try one of the new ones from last month?
You mean December or November?
I mean, January.
You got to put it on your Plex so Brian can watch it.
Do that.
I'm okay with that.
You have
Brian?
any preference on one of those, Brian?
Yeah.
I feel like your choice is probably Frostbiter.
I have that one actually.
All right, let's watch Frostbiter. And I can tell you from a Michigander's POV.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. We will see you next week. And well, actually, we will see you next week, but by then all of our other episodes should be uploaded. And yeah, we'll be back next week talking about Frostbiter. And as always, please don't forget to hit subscribe, share, tell your friends about us, tell your mom about us. We want to be up to 100 subscribers, and guess what? In a few weeks, when we talk about Champagne for Bullets, the long-awaited song is going to be sung. I have got a backup band that's going to record the music for me. I am going to put on my cowboy hat and do the shimmy slide, or whatever it's called.
So right now we're at 62. We got a couple more this past week. I think if we get to 75 by the time we talk about this, you have to wear only the cowboy hat.
Oh boy.
No, that would be
Yeah.
that would get us banned from YouTube.
It'll be worth it.
No, it won't. Because I don't want your wives to leave you.
True. Okay.
I'm doing it for your marriages.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. We will see you next week as we talk about Frostbiter, as we live in areas, well, at least Brian and I live in areas where it hasn't snowed yet this year.
No, we had snow.
Bad snow, or just like a...
No, I mean nothing like, for the area it was, I would say, like considered a pretty hefty snow, but I mean nothing that like kept us indoors or anything.
Yeah,
It just sort of came out of nowhere, and then
we just had like a minor one. I woke up to snow, and then when I went out 6 hours later, everything was melted.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next week as we talk about the Yeti movie from Michigan. Not Wendy, I'm sorry, Wendigo movie from
Wendigo.
Michigan. Frostbiter. And I might try to dig up my copy of the Frostbiter comic book.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think, Brian, you're gonna have to tell us the difference between Wendigo, Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Wendigo isn't one of those movies, and we'll talk about it next week as I describe what a Wendigo is.
All right.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah.